The Jared Dillon Show.
I'm Jared Dillon. This is the Jared Dillon Show. If you want to call to talk about your money, please call 844-305-7800. That's 844-305-7800. This is the Jared Dillon Show. Joey Chestnut ate 32 Big Macs in 38 minutes to set a new world record. 32 Big Macs is 18,000 calories. I like Big Macs a lot. And I'm a vegetarian now, which is kind of sad. But this is probably like 6 or 7 years ago. Like if I was on the run and I didn't have time to stop for food, I would go to McDonald's and I would get 2 Big Macs, no fries, 2 Big Macs. Now that's about 1,000 calories, and that was dinner. And that was a pretty good dinner. By the way, people, all these idiots, they like rip on McDonald's for like how unhealthy the food is. You want to talk about how much good McDonald's does in society. How much good. The double cheeseburger, the McDouble, is I think $1.49. The McDouble fulfills all your nutritional needs. Like it's I'm serious. For $1.49, you have more caloric density in the McDouble. So what I'm trying to say here is you get the more calories per dollar. And if you don't have a lot of money, like if you're legitimately poor, to get a McDouble for $1.49 is the best thing in the world. We're going to say, no, you got to go to Chipotle. Okay, now they spend $10. $1.49, you get a McDouble. Anyway, I digress. He can also eat 82 tacos in 8 minutes. 74 hot dogs in 10 minutes, 257, these are the little donuts, the donutettes in 6 minutes, 14.5 pounds of blueberry pie in 8 minutes, 15 bowls of gumbo in 8 minutes, 121 Twinkies in 6 minutes. I like Twinkies. He's done it all, Joey Chestnut. Now, I used to fancy myself a competitive eater. Now, I eat fast. Like I crush food. I eat fast. But I'm not that fast. Having said that, I did a couple of eating contests on the trading floor when I was at Lehman Brothers. And for me, like my favorite thing to speed eat was a Chipotle burrito. So I could eat one Chipotle burrito in 1 minute and 50 seconds. And I could eat 2 Chipotle burritos in 5 minutes. Now, I actually raced a guy on the trading floor, big crowd, everybody watching, yelling, stuff like that. And I lost by like a second in this competition. That guy's still a friend of mine, but I'm a speed eater, but it's not that kind of speed eating. That's insane. Put that over there. All people know about Wall Street is what they saw at the movies. Wall Street is depicted sometimes favorably, sometimes unfavorably in movies. So let's talk about The Big Short. Big Short is kind of recent. I'm sure many of you have seen The Big Short. The Big Short is based on a book by Michael Lewis. Michael Lewis is perhaps one of the greatest nonfiction authors of all time. If you saw The Big Short, you probably also saw Moneyball. That's also a Michael Lewis book. I'm trying to think if he's had any other books made into movies. Liar's Poker was the first one he wrote about Salomon Brothers back in 1986. And The Big Short is about some guys that made some money shorting bonds and mortgage-backed securities during the financial crisis. Now, I did not read the book because I have like PTSD over the financial crisis. I don't need to read that stuff. Maybe I'll read it someday. I also didn't watch the movie. The director, I believe, went on the record and said that the purpose of that movie was to get people to vote for Bernie Sanders. This was back in 2015. And they wanted to make people mad about what happened in the financial crisis. And people, it's 12 years later and people are still mad. And just, can we talk about this for a second? Like, we're going to bail out oil companies. We're going to bail out airlines. We're going to bail out cruise companies. We're going to bail out hotels. This is bad. Like, these people need to go bankrupt. Like, they need to experience the consequences of their actions. And creditors who lent money to these businesses, they also need to experience the consequences of their actions. It's like raising kids. Like, if there's no consequences to your actions, then you never learn, and then you make the same mistakes over and over again. Not to mention, Like, people are still mad about the financial crisis 12 years ago. If I'm running an oil company and I accept money from the federal government, people are going to be mad at me for decades, absolutely for decades, for airlines, whatever. You have to manage your businesses in such a way that you don't go bankrupt, right? All these guys were trying to rev up earnings per share as much as possible. They took out a bunch of debt. They bought back stock. And guess what? They didn't have cash to deal with a crisis like this. It's very simple. And the Trump administration is literally talking about bail. I mean, can you think of a less sympathetic character in the entire world than an oil company CEO literally smoking a cigar? Like, can you think of a less sympathetic character? And this is the guy that we're going to give taxpayer dollars to. Capitalism, there's no bailouts in capitalism. We shouldn't have bailed out the banks in the financial crisis. By the way, if you think about it, so the big bank, JP Morgan was not going to go bankrupt, but Wells Fargo, B of A would have gone bankrupt, Citigroup would have gone bankrupt. Because they didn't go bankrupt, they stayed the biggest banks. Now, if you think about banks that were second-tier banks like BB&T and U.S. Bank and SunTrust and stuff like that, maybe they could have grown to become the biggest banks. BB&T didn't need any money during the financial crisis. Oh, man. It's really bad. You know, this, by the way, this type of stuff, I think, it has the ability to cost Donald Trump the election. I think, you know, if you look at some of what's happening, first of all, the response to the coronavirus has not exactly been confidence-inspiring, which is really kind of your job as a leader. I mean, your job is to be confidence-inspiring, and it seems like panic is being met with more panic and flailing around. And, you know, we're talking about a payroll tax cut, which is Keynesian stimulus, and it's not. We should not be. I don't understand. Like, did they talk to any focus groups? Did they do any polls on this? If you took a poll, if you had Gallup do a poll, do you want to bail out oil companies? The answer is going to be like 99% no. Who in the world thinks this is a good idea? It's not capitalism. It's not. It's really okay if an oil company goes bankrupt. It's okay if an airline goes. They restructure their debt. They restructure. It's not Chapter 7. They don't liquidate. It's Chapter 11. They reorganize. They restructure their debt. It's not like the company goes away, management gets fired, and you start over. You know? I didn't mean for this to be a talk about bailouts. You know, it's funny. There's a financial commentator of sort. His name's Barry Ritholtz, and he wrote a book called Bailout Nation back in 2009. I never read it, but that seems like that would be a pretty good read nowadays. We should not be doing bailouts. I mean, I cannot. By the way, if you're paying attention to this, you know, Donald Trump was a 57% chance to win the election as of a couple of weeks ago. He's now a 48% chance, okay? And it's because of stuff like this, okay? Now, it's not to say that Joe Biden wouldn't do bailouts. I don't know if he would do bailouts, maybe not. I can tell you for sure that Bernie Sanders would not do bailouts, which is one of the reasons why people are really attracted to Bernie Sanders, you know? There was actually, this was going around on Facebook a couple weeks ago, or Twitter, I can't remember. And apparently there was a poll it wasn't even a poll. Apparently somebody went through and they found that of all the CEOs in the United States, not one of them had donated to Bernie Sanders' campaign. Now, I don't view that to be a positive. But a lot of people do. A lot of people do think that's a positive. And, you know, this populist, you know, left-wing populist thing that he does is very attractive in this day and age. You know, I'm not going to deny that. I was of the belief that Bernie Sanders was going to win the nomination. Jim Clyburn endorsed Joe Biden. He won South Carolina by 20 points. Then he won Super Tuesday, and it's been off to the races for Joe Biden. He has a slim delegate lead. I'm telling you, I really thought that Bernie Sanders was going to win the nomination, and it was going to be Trump versus Bernie. And it, you know, I don't know. It's still good. We should not We should not be bailing out anybody at all. And we shouldn't have bailed out the banks during the financial crisis. By the way, during the financial crisis, there was this thing called TARP, which was Troubled Asset Relief Program, and we actually forced taxpayer money on hundreds of banks. We made them take it, whether they needed it or not, and that made things even worse. I'm Jared Dillon. This is The Jared Dillon Show.
The Jared Dillon Show.